My husband of 15 years forgot to log out of his email on our shared computer last night. I wasn't snooping, I swear I wasn't, but a notification popped up with a subject line, Tommy's school registration confirmation. We don't have a son named Tommy. We don't have any children at all. And now my entire life is crumbling around me as I realize the man I've loved for nearly 2 decades has been living a double life just 30 minutes down the highway. I'm still in shock as I type this. I haven't slept. My hands won't stop shaking. But I need to tell someone, even if it's just internet strangers, because I feel like I'm losing my mind. Let me start from the beginning. I'm 43F, and my husband Robert is 45M. We met in our late 20s, got married after 3 years of dating, and built what I thought was a happy life together. We both have demanding careers. I'm a hospital administrator, and he's a regional sales director for a pharmaceutical company. His job requires him to travel frequently, usually 2 to 3 days a week. I've never questioned this, because it's been part of our relationship from day one. We don't have children, which was a mutual decision we made early on. Robert told me he didn't want kids because of his travel schedule and because he wanted to focus on our relationship and our careers. I was ambivalent about having children, so I agreed. Sometimes I wondered what our life would have been like with kids, but I never regretted our decision. We have a nice home, we travel, we have friends, and until yesterday, I thought we had a solid marriage. Now I realize it was all a lie. Last night, Robert was working in his home office while I was watching TV. He came out around 9 p.m. and said he had to make an emergency trip to meet a client in Pittsburgh. This wasn't unusual. He often had to leave on short notice. He packed quickly, kissed me goodbye, and left. About an hour later, I went to use the computer in his office to print some documents for work. That's when I saw the email notification pop up. Tommy's school registration confirmation, St. Mary's Elementary School. I clicked on it without thinking. The email was addressed to Robert and Lisa Mitchell. My husband's name is Robert Mitchell, but I'm not Lisa. I've never been Lisa. The email confirmed the registration of Thomas Mitchell, grade 3 for the upcoming school year. There was other information, parent contact details, emergency contacts, a mention of Tommy's siblings Emma, grade 1, and baby James. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. I thought there must be some mistake, another Robert Mitchell with a similar email address. But then I noticed the phone number listed was Robert's cell phone. And the address was in Oakwood, a suburb about 30 minutes from her home. With my heart pounding, I opened a new tab and went to Robert's email inbox. There were hundreds of emails from this Lisa. Birthday party planning, pediatrician appointments, vacation arrangements, photos of children, 3 children, with Robert holding them, smiling at them, being a father to them. And then I found the wedding photos. Robert and Lisa in a small ceremony that appeared to be about 12 years ago. He was wearing the watch I gave him for his 33rd birthday. The room started spinning. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. When I could breathe again, I went back to the computer and searched Lisa Mitchell Oakwood. Facebook provided the answer. Lisa Mitchell, elementary school teacher, married to Robert, mother of 3 beautiful children. Her profile was mostly private, but her profile picture showed her with a little girl who had Robert's eyes. I took screenshots of everything I found. Then I called my sister, who lives an hour away. She drove over immediately. While waiting for her, I kept searching, kept confirming this nightmare was real. Robert doesn't have business in Pittsburgh. According to Lisa's Facebook posts visible to the public, they're celebrating their son Tommy's 8th birthday this weekend. Robert told me he'd be back Sunday night. 3 full days with his other family. My sister arrived and held me while I sobbed hysterically. She wanted me to call Robert immediately, but I couldn't. I needed time to think, to process what this meant. How had he maintained 2 separate households for over a decade? How had I never suspected? How many lies had he told me? I've been sitting here all night, going through our life together with new eyes. All those business trips, at least half of them must have been time with his other family. The weekend conferences, the overnight client meetings, even his regular Thursday late nights at the office were probably family dinners in Oakwood. Financial questions flooded my mind too. How was he supporting 2 households? We have joint accounts, But Robert also maintains separate accounts for his work expenses. Now I realize those accounts probably funded an entire separate life. And then there are the children. 3 children he never wanted with me. 3 children he's raising 30 minutes away. The oldest must have been conceived just 2 years after our wedding. My sister wants me to confront him immediately, to call a lawyer first thing in the morning. But I'm still trying to wrap my head around this reality. I keep hoping there's some explanation, some misunderstanding. But the evidence is overwhelming. Robert texted me a few hours ago, arrived in Pittsburgh safely. Client crisis might take longer than expected. We'll keep you posted. Love you. More lies. So casual, so easy for him. I haven't responded. I don't know what to say. Enjoy Tommy's birthday party. Give my regards to your wife and children. I've discovered you've been living a double life for our entire marriage. I feel like I'm living in a bad movie. This can't be my life. But it is. The sun is coming up now. My sister is asleep on the couch. And I'm sitting here wondering how the man I've loved for 15 years could betray me so completely. How every kiss, every I love you, every moment of our marriage could exist alongside a whole separate life that I knew nothing about. What do I do now? 24 hours later. I still haven't confronted Robert. I know many of you think I should, but I'm taking advice from both my sister and the lawyer I spoke with this morning. Yes, I already consulted a lawyer. They both suggested gathering as much information as possible before confronting him. So today, I did something I never thought I'd do. I drove to Oakwood. It was surprisingly easy to find their house using the address from the school registration email. It's a 2-story colonial with blue shutters on a quiet street with big trees. There were bicycles in the driveway and a swing set in the backyard. It looked like exactly what it was, a family home. I parked down the street and just sat there, trying to process that this was real. After about 20 minutes, the front door opened, and a woman came out with 2 children, a boy who must be Tommy and a younger girl who I assume is Emma. The woman, Lisa, looked nothing like me. She's shorter, blonde, younger by maybe 5 to 7 years. The children were laughing as she helped them into a minivan. I ducked down as they drove past. I don't think she saw me. I sat there for another hour, half hoping Robert would emerge, so this would all make sense, half terrified of seeing him in this other life. But the house remained quiet. He's supposedly in Pittsburgh after all. When I got home, I started going through our financial records. The lawyer had advised me to document everything, so I pulled bank statements, tax returns, credit card bills, anything I could find. There were indeed large transfers to those separate accounts Robert maintained, about $8,000 per month for the past decade. More than enough to support another household. I also found life insurance policies I didn't know existed. One naming me as beneficiary and another, hidden in a folder marked client files, naming Lisa and the children as beneficiaries. Both for substantial amounts. Then I went through his travel records from the past year. Every business trip matched up perfectly with school holidays, children's birthdays, or extended weekends. He wasn't even trying to hide it. He just knew I wouldn't question his work commitments. The more I discover, the more I realize how meticulously he constructed this dual life. How many thousands of lies, large and small, he must have told over the years to maintain both relationships. I still haven't responded to his texts. He's sent several more, acting concerned that he hasn't heard from me. Is everything okay? Not like you to go radio silent. The audacity is breathtaking. Several of you asked if Robert and I have a good marriage, if there were signs I missed. The truth is, I thought we were happy. We have our routine, our inside jokes, our favorite restaurants. Sex has become less frequent over the years, but that seemed normal for a long-term marriage. He's always been attentive, remembering birthdays and anniversaries, bringing me small gifts from his trips. Now I wonder if those gifts were really apologies. If his attentiveness was actually guilt. If every moment of our marriage was tainted by his deception. Tomorrow is Tommy's birthday party. Robert is supposed to be in Pittsburgh until Sunday night. I'm tempted to confront him there, at his other house, surrounded by his other family. To watch his worlds collide in real time. But the lawyer strongly advised against this. Don't give him the chance to create a narrative, she said. Don't tip your hand. Document everything, secure your finances, and then confront him on your terms. So that's what I'm doing. My sister is helping me move money to accounts in my name only. The lawyer is preparing divorce papers. And I'm trying to hold myself together for just a bit longer. Sunday night, when Robert returns home, I'll be waiting. And nothing will ever be the same again. Sunday night. It's done. I confronted Robert, and my world has completely shattered all over again. I spent the weekend preparing. I moved half our savings to an account in my name. I copied important documents. I packed a bag in case I needed to leave quickly. My sister stayed with me, but she left before Robert was due home. This was a conversation I needed to have alone. I sat in the living room, waiting. His text said he'd be home around 8 p.m. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. At 8:15, I heard his key in the lock. He walked in, smiling, carrying his overnight bag. Hey, babe, he said casually, as if he hadn't just spent the weekend celebrating his son's birthday with his other wife. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was brutal. I didn't answer. I just stared at him, this stranger I'd been married to for 15 years. His smile faltered. What's wrong? How was Tommy's birthday party? I asked quietly. The change in his face was instantaneous. All color drained away. He stood frozen in the doorway, his hand still on the handle of his bag. I don't. He started, then stopped. His eyes darted around as if looking for an escape route. Don't bother lying, I said. I know about Lisa. I know about Tommy, Emma, and James. I know about your house in Oakwood. I know everything. He set down his bag very slowly, like a man in a dream. Then he sat heavily on the couch across from me. How did you find out? He finally asked. Does it matter? You've been living a double life for our entire marriage. You have another wife, 3 children, a whole separate existence that you've hidden from me for years. He buried his face in his hands. I never meant for this to happen, he said, his voice muffled. What exactly didn't you mean to happen, Robert? You didn't mean to marry another woman? You didn't mean to father 3 children? You didn't mean to lie to me every single day for over a decade? When he looked up, he was crying. I felt nothing. It started before I met you, he began. Lisa and I dated in college. We broke up when I moved for my first job, but we reconnected a year before you and I met. We were casual at first, then more serious. And then you started dating me without breaking up with her. I filled in. He nodded miserably. I cared about both of you. I couldn't choose. I thought it would run its course naturally, that one relationship would eventually end. But neither did.
So you married me? Yes.
And I truly loved you. I still love you. But Lisa was pregnant with Tommy when you and I got married. I couldn't abandon her or my child. I laughed, a harsh sound that surprised even me. So instead, you married both of us? Started 2 families? Lied to everyone for 15 years. I know it sounds insane, he said, but it didn't happen all at once. It was a series of choices, each one seeming impossible to undo. By the time Emma was born, I was in too deep. I couldn't imagine hurting either of you by revealing the truth. So, you decided that maintaining this elaborate fiction was less hurtful than honesty? That living half a life with each of us was better than choosing one family? He had no answer for that. Does Lisa know about me? I asked. He shook his head.
No.
She thinks I travel for work too. Different schedule than what I tell you, obviously. She's never questioned it. Just like I never questioned it, I said bitterly. We both trusted you completely. We sat in silence for a long moment. Outside, a neighbor's dog barked. Inside, 15 years of marriage crumbled between us. I want a divorce, I finally said. I've already spoken to a lawyer. He looked up sharply. You can't tell Lisa.
Please.
The children. The children you created? The children you lied about? Those children. They're innocent in all this, he pleaded. Tommy and Emma adore me. James is just a baby. It would destroy them. His concern for his secret family, while showing no real remorse for deceiving me, ignited a rage I didn't know I was capable of feeling. "You should have thought about your children before you decided to live a lie," I said coldly. "You don't get to control the fallout now." "What do you want?" he asked, his voice hollow.
Money?
"The house. I'll give you anything." "I want the last 15 years of my life back," I said. "I want to have never met you. I want to have never loved a man who could do this. But since that's impossible, I'll settle for a divorce and half of everything we own, including the money you've been diverting to your other household." He nodded, defeated. "I'll move out tonight." "Yes, you will. Go to your real family," I said. "I'm sure Lisa will be surprised to see you home on a Sunday night." As he stood to leave, a thought occurred to me. One more question. Why didn't you want children with me when you clearly wanted them with her? He looked away. Lisa got pregnant by accident. After Tommy was born, it just made sense for her to be the one to raise our children since she was already a stay-at-home mom. Your career was taking off. It seemed cleaner that way. Cleaner, I repeated, the word tasting like poison. You constructed our entire childless life, my entire identity as a woman who chose career over family, around what was convenient for your deception. It wasn't like that, he protested weakly. It was exactly like that. Get out of my house. He gathered some clothes and left without another word. I sat in the silent living room for hours afterward, feeling like I'd just emerged from a conversation with a complete stranger. The week since confronting Robert has been the most surreal of my life. I've barely slept, barely eaten. My sister wanted me to stay with her, but I needed to be in my own space, even if that space is filled with memories of a marriage that was a complete fabrication. Robert has been staying at a hotel, not with Lisa. He's called and texted constantly, asking to talk, saying he can explain everything better if I'll just give him a chance. I've ignored most of it, only responding with practical questions about the divorce through my lawyer. But yesterday, something happened that forced me to speak with him directly.
Lisa called me.
Yes, Robert's other wife found my number and called me. Apparently, after leaving our house that night, Robert went to a hotel, got drunk, and then showed up at Lisa's house in the middle of the night, confessing everything in what she described as a complete breakdown. She was surprisingly calm on the phone. Eerily calm, actually. She introduced herself simply as Lisa Mitchell, Robert's wife, as if that was a normal thing to say to someone. "I thought we should talk," she said. Woman to woman. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop halfway between our towns, neutral territory. I arrived first and watched her walk in, the blonde woman from the minivan, the mother of Robert's children, the other Mrs. Mitchell. She looked exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes and a tightness around her mouth that I recognized from my own mirror. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," she said as she sat down across from me. There's no guidebook for this situation." "No, there isn't," I agreed. There was an awkward silence, as we both seemed to realize the absurdity of the situation. Two women who had unknowingly shared a husband for over a decade, now sitting across from each other over coffee. "How are your children handling this?" I asked, surprising myself with a question. She looked down at her untouched coffee. "They don't know yet. Robert's staying at a hotel. I told them he's on an extended business trip. I don't know how to tell 3 young children that they're father." She trailed off. "Has another wife." I finished for her. "Another life." "Yes." She met my eyes. "Were there signs? Did you ever suspect?" I shook my head. "Never. His travel schedule was always erratic, but it made sense for his job." "What about you?" "The same. He's always traveled for work. 3 days with you, 4 days with us. Sometimes he'd be away for a full week when he was actually with you. I never questioned it." She laughed bitterly. "I even bragged to my friends about how modern our marriage was, that we were stronger because we had time apart." We sat in silence for a moment, both processing the magnitude of deception we'd lived with. "Did you know I existed?" I asked finally. "Even as a suspicion?" "No," she said firmly.
Never.
I trusted him completely. She hesitated. "Did you know about me?"
No.
"I only found out because he forgot to log out of his email." I saw a school registration confirmation for your son, Tommy. She nodded. His birthday was last weekend. Robert always makes such a big deal about being there for birthdays. Now I understand why. They were the few times he could commit fully to one family without the other expecting him. Another silence fell. What else could we say? We were both victims of the same elaborate deception, both facing the collapse of what we thought our lives were. What are you going to do? I finally asked. Lisa took a deep breath. I don't know. Unlike you, I have 3 children to consider. Their relationship with their father. Financial stability. What this will do to them psychologically. She looked at me directly. What are you going to do? Divorce him, I said without hesitation. I've already started the process. She nodded as if she'd expected this answer. I probably will too. Eventually. But first I need to understand how he managed this for so long. The financial arrangements. The planning. The sheer logistics of it all. She shook her head in disbelief.
Who does this?
What kind of person lives like this? A sociopath, I suggested. Maybe, she agreed. Or just a man who couldn't make a choice and decided he could have everything if he was willing to live with the deception. We talked for almost 2 hours. About Robert, about our marriages, about the parallels and differences in our lives with the same man. It was the most bizarre conversation of my life, but also strangely cathartic. Before we parted, Lisa said something that stayed with me. He doesn't get to have both of us anymore. Whatever happens next, he's lost the double life he created. Now he has to live with the consequences. 6 months later. It's been half a year since my world exploded, and I'm finally ready to share what's happened since that coffee shop meeting with Lisa. Robert moved out permanently the day after I confronted him. The divorce was finalized 3 months ago. In the end, he didn't contest anything. He gave me the house, half of all our assets, including the money he diverted to his other family, and a substantial settlement. I think he was just relieved I didn't make the situation even more public than it already was. Because yes, people know. Not everyone, but enough. I couldn't keep something this enormous completely private, especially when it involved lawyers and financial investigations. I told my closest friends and my immediate family. Robert's brother called me, devastated and apologetic. He hadn't known either. Lisa filed for divorce a month after I did. According to what I've heard through our now overlapping social circles, she's got primary custody of the children, but is allowing Robert regular visitation. I haven't spoken to her since our coffee shop meeting, but I think about her and those children often. Strange as it sounds, I feel connected to them. Not as family, but as fellow survivors of Robert's deception. As for Robert himself, he moved to an apartment equidistant from both former homes. He's still working the same job, though he requested a reduction in travel. Too late for that adjustment, I think bitterly. From what little I've heard, he's in therapy, trying to understand why he created this elaborate dual life rather than choosing one family or the other. I'm in therapy too, working through the anger, the humiliation, the profound sense of having been played for a fool. Some days are better than others. I've sold our house, too many memories, and bought a smaller place closer to my work. I've reconnected with old friends, taken up hiking, started dating very tentatively. My therapist says I'm making remarkable progress, but it doesn't always feel that way from the inside. The question I get most often is, how did he manage it logistically for so long? The answer is both simple and incredible. Robert created an intricate scheduling system that kept his 2 lives separate. He maintained different phones, different email accounts. He set up automatic payments for bills. He kept meticulous track of what he told each of us about his whereabouts. He essentially treated his double life like a complex work project, scheduling, planning, problem-solving. The level of organization required to maintain this deception for over a decade is staggering. That same energy and attention to detail could have built something real and meaningful with one family. Instead, he created 2 half-lives, 2 marriages built on lies. People also ask if there were signs I missed. In hindsight, maybe. The separate bank accounts. The rigid travel schedule. The way he sometimes seemed distracted or would reference conversations we never had. But these were small things. easily explained by a demanding job and a long marriage. Nothing that screamed, "Your husband has another family." The hardest part to accept isn't the betrayal itself, though that's excruciating, but the realization that I didn't really know the man I was married to for 15 years. That while I was sharing my whole self, he was carefully curating which parts of himself to share with me. That every moment of intimacy was compromised by what he was holding back. I've had to rewrite not just my present and future, but my entire past. Every anniversary dinner, every vacation, every quiet evening at home, all tainted by the knowledge that these moments were just fragments of a divided life. Some nights, I still wake up in a panic, my brain trying to make sense of this new reality. But those nights are becoming less frequent. I'm building a new life, one that belongs entirely to me. One that's not shared with a ghost family I never knew existed. If you're reading this and thinking your spouse could never do something like this, that's exactly what I thought too. I'm not saying become paranoid or suspicious. Just know that sometimes the unimaginable happens. Sometimes the person sleeping beside you is capable of deceptions you cannot fathom. But also know this, if your world does shatter like mine did, you can survive it. You can rebuild. You can find joy again. It doesn't happen quickly or easily, but it happens. 6 months ago, I thought my life was over. Today, I can see that it's actually just beginning. A life that's entirely mine, no longer entangled with a man who couldn't be honest about who he really was or what he really wanted. And ultimately, that's a gift, though it came in the most painful package imaginable.